Hey everybody, this is Mrs. Hilt with your lecture on naming covalent compounds. Please follow along with the naming covalent compounds lecture slides and also have a periodic table available so that you can look up the names of the elements and the chemical symbols. All right, now first, molecular compounds. A molecular compound is a compound that contains two or more of the same type of atom. So covalent bonds are molecular compounds because they contain two or more nonmetals, which is the same type of atom. An ionic bond is not a molecular compound because it contains metals and nonmetals, two different types of atoms, therefore not molecular. It has to have two of the same type. Now, what makes something a covalent bond is when nonmetals share their valence electrons to achieve stability. Okay, so involves their valence electrons with the goal of achieving a complete octet or a complete outside shell of electrons. And specifically, the electrons are shared between the atoms. All right, so here is the naming process that goes with covalent compounds. First, you need to identify the name of the first element. Then, identify the number of atoms of that element by using a prefix. For the second element, you will again determine the name of it, and the ending will change to IDE, and you will also use a prefix with the number of atoms of that element. So for example, we have three different compounds with nitrogen and oxygen. The first one, nitrogen dioxide. So stated the name of the element, prefix to tell us that there were two of them, and oxygen changed to oxide. Second one, di-nitrogen to show that we have two nitrogens, mon meaning there's one oxygen, and oxide meaning oxygen with the IDE ending. Lastly, di-nitrogen, again, we have two nitrogens. Nothing about nitrogen's name changed other than the prefix in the front. And then we have 5 oxygens, so we have penta, which means 5, and oxide, which is oxygen with the IDE ending. Now notice there's an X over the mono, and I didn't say it when I listed off that name. And that is because whenever there is one atom of the first element, we do not use the mono prefix. If there is one atom of the second element, you do need to use the mono prefix. It's kind of a weird rule, but just remember that the only time that you identify if there's one atom is when it is the second element. So mono will only ever be used in the second element. All right, so again, molecular compounds use prefixes to indicate the number of nonmetals that are present. Mono is not used on the first nonmetal compound. It will be used on the second one, however. So for example, we have NO2, so nitrogen dioxide. But if we had NO, that would be nitrogen monoxide. All right, and because there are vowels that come back to back, whenever you have an O and an O that are back to back, or an A and an O that appear back to back or together, you will always drop the first vowel or omit the first vowel. So for example, carbon monoxide, instead of writing MONOOXIDE, we just have one O. All right, here's the list of prefixes, and you guys will need to memorize these for your tests and quizzes. Pay close attention to hexa and hepta. Many times students will mix those ones up. So come up with some rule to help you keep those ones straight especially. All right, let's get some practice. If you're feeling confident and want to dive right in, pause the video and determine the name of NCl3 and the formula of diboron trioxide. If you would like to see me walk through these ones first, just hold tight and going over the answers in 3, 2, 1. All right. So NCl, first I would look up on the periodic table and find nitrogen. Nothing about nitrogen changes. I don't need a prefix because there is only one nitrogen atom here. Then I'll look up and see that Cl is chlorine, and because I have 3 of those, I will write trichloride. So the parts that changed are a tri was added and an IDE ending. All right, and some technical stuff. Make sure that there is always a space in between the first element and the second element, but there is never a space between the prefix and the element, nor is there a hyphen. There's also not a space or a hyphen between the element's base and the IDE ending. All right, next one. Write the formula for the molecular compound diboron trioxide. All right, so di tells us that there is 2. Boron, we'd have to look at the periodic table and see that that chemical symbol is a B. Tri means 3, and oxide means oxygen, which is an O. So I will write this formula as B2O3. All right, let's get some more practice. Okay, I want you guys to try naming these ones on your own. So pause the video, go for it, and when you're ready for the answers, press play. All right, so the first one, S is sulfur, and Br is bromine, and the prefix that we need before bromine is tetra. Make sure to double check that your ending is IDE and that you don't have any spaces in between tetra and bromide, and that there is no prefix or name change at all to sulfur. Then P2O3, phosphorus is P, and because we have 2 of those, I'm going to use the di prefix. And oxygen comes second. Since there are 3 of those, it will be trioxide. All right, one more slide of practice. All right, so again, I want you to pause the video and try these ones. First, identify if the compound is ionic or molecular. Then, for the molecular compounds, I want you to also name them. So please pause the video now, try this out. When you're ready for the answers, press play. All right, so our molecular compounds are BF3 and OCl2. SNO, SN is tin, that is a metal, so it will be ionic, and Ni3PO4, Ni, nickel, is a metal, so that is also ionic. For the first one, we have boron and fluorine, and we have 3 fluorines, so it will be trifluoride. For B, it will be oxygen, dichloride. All right, there you go. Please let me know if you have any questions.